Hey, how's it going? Adrienne Elise here. I just wanted to pop in and talk to you about what's going on in the cosmos and the stars and planets. So we're heading up to this powerful 4th of July. This might be the most potent Independence Day that astrologically that I've seen. And the main reason for this is that Chiron is turning a retrograde, taking a retrograde cycle on the 4th of July. And this is really intense because Chiron has just moved into Aries. It's only made it to 2 degrees Aries. So it's kind of like inching its way in. But Aries is the most important thing to Aries. The sign Aries is independence and freedom. And there is just this bigger reverberation energy kind of coming out from the United States right now. This is kind of what's going on right now, is that things are just falling apart. They're in shambles and chaos, and just, it's like, what is happening in our world, you know? But what's really going on is that we are being shown what is real and what's not real, what's true, what's not true, the darker shadows being revealed in our life and in our world. Like, that's what's really happening. So a lot of what's going on right now energetically has to do with Mercury. Mercury is the messenger. Mercury rules our everyday perception and reality, and that's what's up for review right now. And so it's like, amid the chaos of like all of this crazy stuff going on in the world, and especially in the US, there is some powerful truth trying to come through. And you probably, we have this on the microcosm in our lives too, where it's like, bam, all of a sudden, there's this huge bloom of chaotic energy, drama, emotional upheaval, and of course we're feeling this a lot more because the sun is in Cancer. Cancer rules are nurturing. It's a water sign. It's the most watery of the water signs. It's like just high level emotional sensitivity going on. And so with all this energy of the truth trying to be revealed, and like first we have to have chaos and breakdown in order to come to a better place. And like, we're literally right there. We're right there in our personal lives. We're right there in the United States. We're right there in the world. In the cosmos right now. It's like multiple timelines converging. The whole omniverse seems to be going through this right now. And so the mantra that's really helping me kind of deal with my personal situations and things that are going on is that it's kind of like taking a step back. Because Mercury is about, I want to get it, I want to get it, I want to understand. But Mercury has been in a square with Uranus, and Uranus is about information. They're really magical and powerful when they come together. They've been in a square this week. And so it's like, there's this energy of like, there's a bigger picture, step back. The perspective that's going to work for you is to step back. And then there's this opportunity to be like, okay, this is really weird and crazy, but of course there's kind of this energy of like, this is how I'm being shown what's really going on. Okay, so there's like powerful realizations available right now about why we act subconsciously in the way that we do in our life. Why do we keep creating these patterns? Like, where did these patterns come from? How did we get programmed with these patterns? That's what's being shown to us right now. And it's a little sticky, and it's a little gooey, and it's a little bit like, and vulnerable, like really vulnerable. But it's like, of course it has to be this way to show me. Like, that's what's happening. And that's what's happening in the world. If you can step back and be like, okay, this is happening to show us what's really going on. Because on the 10th, we've got Jupiter coming into a direct motion from its retrograde. Now, Jupiter's in Scorpio, and so when a planet goes retrograde, it's kind of on the internal landscape. We're kind of looking at this going into the shadows. It's kind of an internal, it's more in a secret examination within our own being and within behind closed doors in the systems of our world. And now Jupiter's going to be turning direct, and it's already starting that direct motion. And so it's like, okay, now Jupiter brings light. Jupiter doesn't judge Jupiter just brings light and expands. And so it's bringing light to the shadows. It's like, okay, time for this stuff to be revealed. We've kind of like, all this stuff is going on behind the scenes in our world and we don't get to know. And that's been part of the game that's been played to keep humans in slavery and to keep us feeling disempowered and in poverty and in war and in terror. And it's like these things of control energies behind the scenes that have been going on have been trying to be resolved behind the scenes. And now with Jupiter going direct, it's like this is coming forward. So in our personal life, it's like we can have this beautiful combination of that's sticky and weird and vulnerable and stuff coming up, but it's a beautiful combination of like, oh, okay, that's what's been hidden from me. That's what's been ruling my subconscious reality and creating these destructive patterns. And like, I don't want to do it anymore. And now I have a new perspective to be able to change those patterns. Hey, guess what? I'm not a victim of this reality anymore. I have the power to change my structural reality. And that's what's going on. And so it's kind of intense because that Chiron turning retrograde, Chiron in Aries is about this. It's about like, do we have our own autonomy to claim who we really are and claim the world we want? And light workers, sensitive people, empaths have been just so struggling in these last years because the energies on the planet have been, growing in duality. And it's almost like, I don't know. Once you know deep in your heart and soul that there's so much more than what we're experiencing here, and yet we're stuck here, and yet we don't have any tools or support to do anything to make any changes, it can feel incredibly frustrating. But this is changing, and the most empowering, important thing that's happening right now for light workers is this realization, which is kind of, I think, coming to light with this upcoming solar eclipse, upcoming eclipse season that we're moving into, and I'll get to that. But basically, it's like, wait a minute. I know that I'm here for a reason. I know there's way more than what we're being told. But I haven't been able to do anything about it, and just kind of been stuck in my own karmic patterns, repeating over and over like a torture device, And it's like, wait a minute, we are powerful and we are here for a reason. And that reason is coming home now. It's coming home now. Like light workers, it's like, oh my gosh, this is why I'm here. We're holding space for something incredibly potent and powerful to happen. And we're finally going to be validated, but it also means it's time to get to work. It means it's time for us to drop the stories we've been told, drop the conditioning and programming that's keeping us in lower energy, and claim the vision of what we know Earth can be. Claim our reality. So it's like every single light worker right now on the planet, and you know who you are if you're watching this video. That's who you are. And it's like you hold a very important piece of this grid that we're creating that's actually the original grid. It's like the Gaia codes. It's like coming back to an organic, beautiful frequency of what humanity and Earth in its true potential is meant to be. Not a war zone, not a trauma, not poverty and slavery. That's what we've been fed. And it's not our reality. It's not the truth of who true humans are. And the people who are in charge, unfortunately, are not true humans. They're either programmed life forms or artificial intelligence or who knows what. And it's like cloned individuals, that are being controlled. And it's just like, okay, time for us humans to take control and understand the power of compassion. And that's what this Cancer energy is bringing up. Now, this is a huge foreshadowing energy because on the 12th is the first eclipse in this 3 eclipse series. It's a partial solar eclipse in Cancer. Now, the eclipses happen when the sun and the moon line up with the nodes of the moon. But the north node of the moon is still in Leo. But in November, in early November, it switches into Cancer. And so and the north node is about our future karma. Like, how are we going to get there? Like, what's the mode of moving into the future? So it's been in Leo, which is about claiming our light, shining our light, claiming our individual, joyful, creative expression, our heart love, our heart space, our destiny, our ability to shine. And now we're going to be moving into the north node in Cancer, which is like kind of coming into the reality that humans are compassionate, and that is the power of this world. So we're like completely remaking our reality based on the truth of what true human potential is really about. And so on this Cancer new moon, it's the first eclipse that is kind of talking about the North Node moving into Cancer. And so we're kind of seeing this whole energy play out in front of us. A very, very powerful day, because the moon and the sun are together on a solar eclipse that happens on a new moon. So the moon and the sun are together in Cancer at 20 degrees, almost directly opposite of Pluto in Capricorn. And this is massive. We know that Pluto is the destroyer. It's the ruler of Scorpio. It's death, rebirth, like break down everything so we can see what's good and what's bad, what's healthy, what's not unhealthy, and just break it all down so we can build something new. That's Pluto's way of dealing with things. And so where is Pluto in Capricorn? The structures of authority of our life, like kind of what holds our whole world in our concept of reality. And so it's like, okay, what we've been having that Pluto Uranus square for these years, but what does that really mean, right? Like, what does this really mean? Pluto is the breakdown of the structures. Now we're going to understand what this means. And it's like, we've got to let go of the lies and the deceit and the programming so that we can create the world we're here to create. And now is the time. So I've gotten this beautiful picture of this solar eclipse happening in Cancer as like the beginning of this activation of this compassion grid, which is the truth. It's like the Christ consciousness, but like the truth of our path, our spiritual evolution in humanity. And it already kind of exists, but humans haven't, the light workers haven't fully embodied this energy yet. And it's like, we have been holding down space for this, but now it's like, take your place, hold down the fort, take your place in the grid and hold energy. We're just holding down the fort right now. Don't be too worried about what's going on in the outside world or in your life, besides just clearing the rubble and seeing the truth and holding energy for what you know is possible. That's why you're here. You have this in your heart and soul, and it's made you feel depressed and hopeless for far too long. And now it's time to claim that hope and claim that knowledge within yourself that we have a way bigger destiny here, and it's way more beautiful than what we've been told. And it's time to claim that back. So that's what's going on. I'm having a group session. What this is like an intuitive session for a group of people. So we're going to look at shared past lives and experiences that can help us clear and understand and maybe tap into this vision of why we're here and kind of claim this grid and begin to activate this new paradigm has been kind of like floating there, but hasn't quite come down to Earth. And so that's going to be on the exact time of this eclipse. And so we're going to start an hour ahead and move into it. And so that's going to be at 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. That's going to be 7 p.m. this is Thursday the 12th on the West Coast. And that will be 10 p.m. on the East Coast. So I hope you can join me for that powerful event where we're going to come together and just get our place on the grid and understand and get that download and begin the process of being a light worker and kind of getting to do what we came here to do. And so that's really beautiful energy coming in. But this week, Mercury is got some powerful messages for us. It's like we're in preparation mode for this. And Mercury, like I said, is our change of perception. So Mercury's been in square with Uranus and kind of being like, what do we need to know? What information needs to come through about what's really going on? We've got then Mercury comes up with the North Node. And that is in Leo. Mercury is having a retrograde at the end of month in Leo, meaning it's spending a lot of time in Leo, like close to 6 weeks in Leo. So the information about this Mercury retrograde is about how are we going to shine our light and live our truth, live our compassionate truth, and get onto our soul destiny. So this is the deal. It's like your soul destiny, what you really want to do in your individual life, whatever it looks like, it's not one specific thing. It's more like an energy expression in this world, is absolutely exactly in alignment with this bigger grid that's being created. And that's where your puzzle piece comes in. So it's a really cool energy actually of this interception of our personal destiny and the collective destiny with that, with this kind of play of this Cancer and Leo energies going on. Now, right after Mercury comes up with the North Node, bringing us information about how do we shine our light, how do we claim our joy, how do we claim our individual destiny and our place in the sun. You know, the sun shines equally on all of us, and yet most of us feel like we don't deserve it. And that's the programming that we've got to like That's it. That's what's available in this Cancer energy, is like, get that stuff out of there that you have to pay some sort of price for nurturing and care in this world. It's like, no, that's a birthright, that we have the sun inside of us. We couldn't exist if we didn't have the sun inside of us. And so it's just a huge, this is the Mercury reorganization energy going on now. So that happens right over this week, through the 5th. We're going to be feeling this Mercury on the North Node. Pay attention, step out of the chaos so you can get these messages, because they're flooding in. And it's like, okay, yep, I'm being shown. This is blowing up in my life right now because it's what needs to happen for me to understand and to drop these stories and to move on. And it's almost like we've kept them kind of at bay. You know, this is the stuff that's coming up. It's like maybe deep wounds from your childhood with that Chiron turning retrograde. It's like the deep wounds. It's like, well, that didn't really happen. No, I can just, I can just kind of put that under the rug. It's like, that's not really affecting me. It's like, whoa, every thought I have, every action I take is going back to some bullshit programming I got when I was too young to remember. And it's like, okay, enough of that story, right? So that's what's happening right now. Very, very powerful. And then Mercury comes up to an opposition with Mars. So Mars is in Aquarius and Mercury's in Leo, opposite from each other. So Mars is very close to the South Node. And Mars is frustrated right now, because Mars is like, I have been doing so much work and I'm not getting anywhere, right? And it's like, because we don't have the new paradigm yet. And so we can't go. And Mars is feeling helpless and impotent and powerless and depressed, and it's like wah. And it's just like, I don't get to go into the new age. Oh, we lose again. Humans, we've been stuck in this thousands of years evolution of never being able, getting this close to claim back our power, and then we don't. But this time we are. That's why we're all here together right now. And so Mercury opposing Mars is like, well, Mars, you can't move forward because we don't have a new paradigm yet, and we got to claim our joy, claim our destiny, claim our path, claim our joy, claim the world that we want in our true individual self, our ability to shine and accept the sun and the light in our own being that's already there, that we don't have to do anything for. That's kind of overlapping with those Cancer issues of whether or not we deserve to be nurtured. And Mercury's like, okay, time to shine, you guys. And this is the information that we need. It's very potent for Mercury to spend so long. Usually it spends like 3 weeks in the sign. So it's spending double time in Leo because we've got some messages. So it's like we need to get the message of this North Node in Leo before it moves into Cancer in November. So these last couple of months, it's like bam, 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 like what is in the way of getting on your destiny? And so Mars is saying, well, what's in the way is that we don't have the new paradigm to move into yet because we haven't allowed ourselves to shake off the old. And so we're in this kind of weird adjustment process. That's the whole energy of 2018. But anyway, then on the 4th of July, so it's kind of like Mercury comes up with the North Node and Chiron turns retrograde, and then Mercury opposes Mars. And it's like, we're just, it's like we're not quite ready to go forward, but we're not quite ready to go back either. And Chiron is kind of pulling us back because it's going to go back into Pisces. And Pisces has the end degrees of Pisces have this like martyr energy. It's like, oh, I'll never win. Like I'm a victim of this reality and all. And it's like, where are we clinging to victimhood? And where are we being told that our oppressors are actually the victims? Right? Like we're just in such a messed up world, and we've got to rearrange this to move forward. We came to the end of the road, and that's summer 2018. Mars retrograde in Aquarius. We're at the end of the road until we get some shit resolved. And that has to do with Jupiter coming out of retrograde in Scorpio. And once it gets out of retrograde, it moves very fast. So it's like, bam, it's just pushing light through the shadow, bringing up all the things that we haven't been wanting to look at. And then Chiron turning retrograde, it's like, oh God, we're not ready to stand up for our truth. We're not ready to claim our right for the world that we want. Not quite yet, but we're getting there, right? And so we have to kind of just rehash, And so it's kind of nice this week before Jupiter turns direct on the 10th, we have all of these, so many planets retrograde. And so it just really feels like, but we're not getting anywhere. But actually there's a ton of stuff happening behind the scenes. Like there's so much, the rapid shifting of energy, and that's what's happening. The rapid influx and shifting of energy on the planet is actually bubbling up all of this darkness. And so what we're seeing is chaos and darkness and violence and all of these lies and deception and programming and control. I mean, stuff's so weird right now because it's showing us where we've been programmed and controlled. And so it's like, that's the great reveal. And Jupiter, so when Jupiter goes direct, we're going to feel a little bit of kind of like, okay, whoa, okay, getting some perspective on this. We'll be settling into the Mars retrograde. But then Chiron turns retrograde, and it's kind of like, you're not quite done being a victim. We got to resolve this. And all of the shadowy games that have been going on in our psyche, in our personal individual relationships, and in the collective consciousness and our political and financial systems. So yeah, I hope you can join me for that group session. It's going to be super intense and potent and awesome to be together and just kind of like validate this grid and validate what in the world, validate existence, our existence, and what we're really doing here together, and amplifying that blessing of each of us living and breathing in this truth of hope that we came in with, you know. And it's like, can you understand that the depression and the heavy energy of these past years has been exactly validating the hope that you have in your heart. And the hope you have in your heart and the vision of the truth and what's real and what our future actually is, that's why you're here, and it's being activated right now. And so it's a potent time. So I hope we can get together and celebrate that together. And until next time, I'm Adrienne Elise. Namaste.